Hi all, welcome back to another episode on the series History of Medicine. Today we'll be covering the important preventative measure of disease, the vaccination. Before we talk about the history of vaccines, we first need to understand what a vaccine actually is. Vaccines are, according to Britannica, a weakened, killed, or fragmented microorganism that is administered primarily to prevent disease. Basically, after injection of this vaccine, a vaccine helps create antibodies in the body so that when the same disease infects the body again, it is able to defend itself quicker, and so the symptoms are less severe or not apparent at all. The origins of the idea of vaccination came from the idea of variolation. Starting in the 15th century, this was a method originating in China or India to immunize patients against smallpox. It involved taking material from a smallpox patient, such as dried scabs or fluids. Originally, this material would then be ground up into powder and blown up the nose, as done in China and recorded in China. However, creating artificial scratches and rubbing the material onto those scratches became a preferable method of doing this variolation. The virus had more severe effects when coming in contact with the body through the air, while infections through the skin seem to be more localized and milder, and that's why it became more preferable to do it through scratches. This way of treatment allowed the patients to develop immunity while not enduring the full force of the smallpox symptoms, the logic at the basis of modern-day vaccinations. This act of variolation was also witnessed in the Middle East and parts of Africa before spreading to Europe. The problem with this type of immunization was that it did not guarantee a mild form of smallpox when injected. Many patients still suffered the full force of the disease and died. It also made the patients infectious and so able to transmit the disease to others. The modern vaccination originates from the English surgeon Edward Jenner. He was intrigued by the fact that people who suffer from cowpox, a harmless disease that transmitted through cattle, usually milkmaids, did not seem to contract smallpox. To test this theory, in 1796, Jenner took lesions from milkmaids that had recently been infected with cowpox. With this, he inoculated an 8-year-old boy. The boy fell sick with cowpox but quickly recovered. Perhaps immorally, Jenner then tested his theory by infecting the boy with smallpox. Thankfully, his theory was right and the boy did not get sick from smallpox as he had the protection from the cowpox. After actively promoting his ideas and fighting off opposition, vaccines finally started being accepted in Europe and started to spread to other parts of the world. Despite some not following the correct procedures, resulting in some error, the number of smallpox deaths drastically decreased after the creation of the vaccine. This was how the first modern vaccine was developed. It is interesting to note that both discoveries were made in a time of high infection of smallpox. Perhaps the dangers of the smallpox as the leading cause of death at the time incited higher levels of medical inquiry into the disease. In part due to the vaccine, smallpox was eradicated in 1980, and it is considered one of the biggest public health achievements of all time. Vaccines have also become one of the biggest parts of how we prevent the spread of disease and unnecessary deaths. That is all for today's video on the history of vaccines. I hope you all learned something, and we'll see you guys next time.